Alright guys, hope you're doing well. Apologies if I probably seem a little bit sullen today. However, I am on the back end of a trauma release, so I thought I would basically do a video about it. But yeah, I'm feeling pretty bad, but at the same time quite relieved, and my head is quite calm and humbled, and with a much greater understanding about trauma releases. So I know for a while that I've been holding on to trauma that needs to come out, and one thing that people need to realise is that not all the time you actually know where the trauma's coming from, or you just don't know why you feel a certain way and whatnot. And I've been a little bit resistant recently of doing the pushing down exercise, because I know that there's a trauma that needs to come out. And one of the reasons why I'm a little bit resistant is because the last time I had a large traumatic release was in Thailand, and unfortunately back then I didn't understand traumas enough for me to deal with it properly. So I kind of re-traumatised myself a little bit, because I went through a massive trauma release in Thailand, and I just didn't understand the process of trauma release for me to handle it in a correct way. And I do believe that anyone that's doing a nutritional balancing program, it is imperative to really understand traumas as much as possible. I'm not saying that's going to necessarily prepare you, because it's difficult to be prepared for a trauma. You know, what I mean by that is it's probably going to be a lot more overwhelming than you expected, but just to try and understand it is extremely important, in my opinion, in order for you to overcome it. So I don't really know what the trauma is about, and it's one of the things I'm realising is you don't really have to. A lot of the times you forgot. But for me, this particular trauma is more to do with kind of forgiving parents. Not, just obviously I'm learning about the truth about the world and about life and how to live well, and that's something that I wasn't taught as I grew up, and it means that I fell victim, like a lot of people do, feel victim to your upbringing, or feel victimised to the way that you think, the way that you think, which is not very truthful and wholesome. And there's also a sense of abandonment there. So when I was going through difficult times in my healing, I didn't feel completely supported by various people around me, which was quite, which is again feeling quite resentful and becoming a victim towards that. Then there's another side of the coin, which is kind of taking full responsibility for your life, basically. And when you take full responsibility for your life and full responsibility of finding the truth and living by the truth, it means that you can't become a victim anymore. And again, that was something that I was resisting, because that's how my personality had been built up, to feel like that. So again, obviously, that whole conglomerate of different things is not necessarily pinpointed to a single event. It seems to be a multitude of different things all kind of mixing together. And I think that's why it's important to realise that it's not something that you need to necessarily think about too much. I think it's important to kind of explore it and kind of see where it's come from, but don't try and pinpoint it to a specific event. Just realise that something happened in the past and the mind was affected as a result, and in order to heal that, the mind needs to process it. And at the end of the day, whatever it's processing now is coming from the past. So, basically try and realise that, and that's a good way that I've been processing it, is that I've been feeling all these emotions and sadness and despair, and you can feel like an impending doom when you start to process a trauma, and just knowing that it's come from the past has allowed me to just kind of take a step back from it and to just allow it to surface and process, and that's been really, really helpful for me especially. But another interesting thing that came up this weekend is that I knew that this trauma was trying to come out, and I was fighting it a little bit, to be fair. I was fighting it. I went out on Saturday night with some friends because I didn't want to deal with it 100%, because it's scary. I'm not a perfect person. I don't want to see this stuff because it's the demons that people talk about. It's the things that hold you back, and there's a process of letting go there where it's like you don't know what the future's going to bring if you end up reviewing any of this stuff, and it's been stuck in there for so many years that it's become a part of who you are as a person, and kind of allowing it to surface is just like really, it's overwhelming. But another interesting thing happened to me, which also was part of the trauma release, and it actually was a turning point in me really fully releasing some stuff. So I was feeling quite down yesterday about everything, and my ex-girlfriend sent me a message basically saying that she processed a trauma about not being able to trust men on Thursday night, and she was crying all night, and she even threw up, and afterwards she felt a peace and a joy, and she just wanted to tell me that she feels like she's getting over me, and she's there for me. And then the most bizarre thing happened to me, and this is definitely some sort of intervention, whether it be from a soul level or from God or from wherever, but without a doubt this was an intervention. So literally in the conversations that we was having over text message, a song came on the TV, and when I first met this girl, I met her on holiday on a cruise ship, and when I got back from England, I had a lot of affection for her, and there was this specific song by Cordeline called All I Want, I think it's called All I Want, and it's a powerful song, and it's, in that moment it expressed how I was feeling towards her. I remember sending her this song a couple of days after I returned from the cruise ship, and it's been a song that's really stuck between us. And that song, which I've never actually heard on the TV, came on as we was talking, and that was it. I just started to really well up and experience, and I could feel just massive amounts of emotion start to rise up, and I actually left my parents' house and went home to my house, and I put that song on my speaker system, and everything just came out, my affection towards my ex-girlfriend, also my feelings of abandonment, my feelings of wanting to move into a new way of thinking and being, just loads of different things. I can't really pinpoint exactly what it was all about, and I think the brain just wants to release it, and I was in hysterics, like literally hysterically crying, like really, really, really bad. And then something that happens on the programme which is fascinating, and Dr. Wilson talks about it extensively, but people don't really understand it too much. So I started to release metals, and this is one of the issues that happened to me in Thailand, is that I started to release a trauma, and at the same time I started to dump copper. It was a big turning point for me, and I think this is another big turning point for me as well in my own healing journey. So I ended up releasing copper, back in Thailand, and obviously anyone that's releasing copper realises that you get all these symptoms, and one of the symptoms is you find it extremely difficult to sleep. So I didn't really understand this well enough in Thailand, to be honest, and I started having panic attacks because I couldn't sleep. I was thinking that I was going crazy, all this kind of stuff. In reality now I realised that the trauma was attached to copper, and copper was coming out my system. So I dumped copper last night in a big way, and I always know when I'm dumping copper because one, I can't sleep, it's as if like a light bulb is just switched on in my head, and two, I get EMF sensitivity, it comes back as the copper's coming out my system, and I get headaches, and you know, taking Paramin and it doesn't really put me to sleep. And you know, one aspect of trauma release, if you're quite comfortable, which I'm much more comfortable now, is you can take extra TMG, which will kind of move the process forward a little bit. So I was taking extra TMG and just getting all these weird kind of visuals and kind of terrors and all this kind of stuff. And luckily I just watched it from a witnessing perspective and didn't really fall into it too much like I did in Thailand. That was a big mistake of mine. Not a mistake, but I just wasn't aware of how to deal with traumas properly. So I've not had any sleep last night, nothing. But I do feel much better. I feel much calmer. I feel much more grounded. My head is much more clearer. I'm going to meet some friends now, which is, you know, my friends are aware of this. This is one thing that's happened to me recently, is I've got a new set of friends. So, you know, they're all supportive. So it's really nice to be around these types of people. But it's given me an appreciation for the Nutritional Balancing Programme again. I mean, I've always appreciated it, but when you go through these periods, you appreciate it even more. And also, I just want to send some compassion out there to people, because it's so easy for these, at the end of the day, how the Nutritional Balancing Programme works is when the body's ready to release something, it'll come up, and you can feel like something's going seriously wrong. You know, you feel like the programme's not working, you feel like, you know, extreme anxiety, just extreme confusion, you know, sometimes you can even feel like there's an impending doom about to happen. And, you know, I just want to kind of put the word out there that this is what needs to happen in order for you to process trauma, and to please read up about trauma. Have a toolkit. You know, my toolkit is make sure I've got Paramin, make sure I've got chamomile tea, make sure I rub my feet, make sure I do the pushing down exercise, you know, make sure I've got good sets of friends around me that understand what's going off, you know, listen to some comedy, you know, read Dr. Wilson's article on, I think it's called Release Your Metals, Release Your Past. There's another article called I want to do the programme but I don't like the feelings, or something along them lines. And that's it, and I feel like there's more to come. The copper. I feel like there's probably more things to release, and I'm comfortable with that. So I'll keep you all informed. Alright, peace out.